everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Amanda N, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the James Webb telescope. It's not like I really talk often about NASA or astronomy on this channel, but this will relate to the paranormal in just a moment, so bear with me. Today is a little bit of a shorter episode because, again, not an astronomy expert, I'm not going to talk about everything with the telescope, but just a little brief overview. So, the JWST, or James Webb Space Telescope, is an infrared space observatory that launched this past Christmas. It cost $10 billion to make, and it's the largest and most powerful space telescope to ever come out of NASA. It was created to uncover the history of the universe itself and explore more about the great unknown that is our world. Space.com does a pretty good job of explaining how this telescope works, and with Reuters coming out with titles like How the James Webb Telescope Will Unlock Secrets of the Universe, it's no surprise that the expectations for this telescope are pretty high. As far as I've read, it's 100 times more sensitive than the Hubble telescope, and it can observe distant galaxies that are 1.3 billion light years away from Earth. As you'll probably know, when a telescope looks further away, it's looking back in time because of the time it takes for light to travel through space, hence why the telescope has such a giant mirror in it. The balance of the gravitational pull of the Sun and Earth will allow the Webb telescope to keep pace with Earth as it makes its journey, capturing never-before-seen images. With whatever photos it gathers, we'll be traveling back in time, but as some have suggested, perhaps discovering if we're really alone in this universe or not. Also, as a little aside here, if you want to see just how powerful this telescope is, or how powerful telescopes can be based on what they can see, I really do recommend checking out that Reuters article because it can show you the different photos and how things can be more detailed, even if they're 7,000 light years away, how there can be a lot more stars, a lot more detail, things of that nature. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, with this particular telescope, there's been the speculation that we could discover aliens. The answer to that is so complicated, and since we're using new technology like with infrared wavelengths similar to night vision cameras on the web, it's no wonder people have surmised as much. Now, there's absolutely no hope whatsoever of seeing animals, plants, or actual alien creatures on these planets if we find them. We're just too far away from that. Sorry to kind of dash your hopes and dreams there, but it's not going to happen. However, what we can finally see are worlds that will orbit other suns. Now, that might sound fascinating and new, but again, sorry to burst any bubbles, it's really not. Astronomers have already discovered more than 4,000 exoplanets, the term for worlds that orbit other suns. Only a handful have actually been photographed, so it'll be fascinating to potentially see photos of them. But they're not necessarily revolutionary. We've discovered those 4,000 since 1995 alone, so they've been around for a bit. We already know exoplanets exist. The question is, how can we tell if there's actual life on them, and can the telescope tell us that? Well, according to the SETI Institute, James Webb promises to do better, to make pictures of medium-sized exoplanets that are 2 to 3 times the diameter of Earth. The images would be disappointing to shutterbugs. The planet would only appear as a 1-pixel dot. But astronomers have had nearly 2 centuries of experience teasing good information out of bad photos. They could pass the light from that dot through a high-tech prism, spreading it out into a rainbow or spectrum. The detailed structure of that spectrum will tell them what's in the planet's atmosphere. For example, if you look at a spectrum of Mars, you'll find telltale indicators of carbon dioxide. The same for Venus, not too exciting. But if you were an alien studying Earth, you'll find more than CO2. You'd see oxygen and the accumulated gas from billions of years of photosynthesis. That would probably get you a tenure at Klingon University because it would be strong evidence that Earth has life. So, could Webb do this? Could they see those gases that would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that intelligent life exists? It's very, very unlikely. I won't say impossible. It's compared to kind of buying a lotto ticket here, but again, very unlikely. And even if we were able to see it, which would shake up our world as we know it, some argue that we shouldn't actually do this in the first place. Criticstot has an amazing video on this. I love that channel. I highly recommend you watch it, even though they're definitely not the only ones saying that speaking to aliens wouldn't be a great idea right now if we do discover them. We can't even figure our own crap out. How can we talk to aliens, right? One famous physicist said that it would be a terrible idea because even if aliens would be friendly, we just can't take a gamble on it. It's already so unlikely that we'll see gases on these other planets, but that's really what I think a lot of people are kind of crossing their fingers for right now. Of course, there's still all of the other fascinating things that James Webb could discover. Again, go check out some articles, but I figured I'd talk a little bit about it discovering aliens. A lot of people just know that it's a high-powered telescope. Maybe it'll tell us some interesting things, but unfortunately, even the most high-powered of telescopes won't necessarily tell us what we want right now. But with that said, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!